Visa, through its globally open innovation program, Visa Everywhere initiative, is inviting fintech and payment startups to showcase their innovative products and solutions. Fintech startups across Central and Eastern Europe, the Middle East, and Africa are invited to sign up and gain exposure and access to Visa's network, as well as a total of $35,000 in prize money. Finalists will gain first-hand exposure to key fintech stakeholders across banking, merchant, VC, and government sectors. Joining us to talk further is Sanyade Okoli, CEO, Alpha African Advisory. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Great to have you. Let's start with, I guess, payments and fintech and digital currency discussion today. What do you think Visa is going to be gaining from this, what they're doing?
Well, if you look at the name of the initiative, Visa Everywhere initiative, it's about market share. They want to be everywhere. They want to have market share. You've got MasterCard Foundation doing all sorts of different initiatives. So this is their initiative. But having said that, for the businesses, obviously there's an opportunity to win money and then being part of a global network. So it should be a win-win for those who are successful.
Great. Do you, in your estimation, do you think the payments space is the hottest space in tech on the African continent? You think payments dominates everything?
It's definitely up there. But you know, if you've tried to, well, don't ask, but I've built a website and tried to I've even done an integration of an external payment gateway.
Oh wow!
Here on the continent, we're really limited in the options that we do have, and it has serious implications. So we need more and more of these payment solutions, because if you think about it, commerce is based on the ability to exchange money for goods and services. So if we can't make or receive payments, it severely limits our ability to properly trade.
I'm not sure if I've had this cryptocurrency conversation with you before. I'm trying to rack my brain. We talked aviation and everything else, but what Visa is doing, they're also inviting startups that play in the crypto space.
Yes.
Yeah, what's your take on that? Because there's been, anytime you hear about crypto news, it's usually scams, or the U.S. Justice Department just recovered $3.6 billion or so on a theft from 2016. And then there's the volatility and all that. But from an innovation standpoint, is there, what's your take?
I think we have to look at digital currencies in three broad buckets. One is the cryptocurrency, the likes of bitcoins, et cetera, that we're all familiar with. The other is what I think is referred to as stable coins.
Right.
And then you've got the central bank digital currencies, which you see Kenya and Zambia looking into. The cryptocurrency, yes, they struggle with the volatility, et cetera, but they are, in comparison, the central bank digital currencies would be tied to the country's legal tender.
Right.
So though they say, yes, it should make international payments simpler and cheaper, but to my mind, you still have currency issues. And if it's tied to the official legal tender of that country, then it means that too is subjected to the shall we say, the ebbs and flows of that currency, but obviously not as volatile as cryptocurrency. But in answer to your question, our lives are moving towards greater and greater digitization. So we cannot run away from the fact that, trade and money, et cetera, we're going to utilize more digital, it's going to be more and more digital as well. It's just the reality, which is why I think you see more countries and their central banks saying, okay, how can we, rather than fighting it and just saying, no, don't, how can we participate and bring some, at least, level of sanity to this area?
Fantastic. Okay, so I'm glad you mentioned it. So we've got Zambia, we've got, Zambia is exploring already. Kenya has already put out a paper. Nigeria's way ahead. Nigeria's already released theirs. Is this the new frontier? Is this next for central banks? As far as now, I'm talking about the digital currencies now. Is that where it is?
Well, some would answer that it's not just next, it's today.
It's already here,
right? It's happening. But yes, we expect to see more and more. But are we going to see every country go to it? Not necessarily, because it really is horses for courses in terms of, it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. Each sovereign entity has to look at what they require for their own economic needs and how best to go about that.
How far do you think it goes? Do we get to a point where cards are eliminated, or you just tap your temple and pay for something? Where do you think You know, how far, I don't know, if we're having this conversation X number of years from now, or other people are sitting here having this conversation, how far do you think it goes with payments and the digital?
I would hate to hazard a guess. Some would already argue that, you know, with implants, et cetera, that you probably can already just touch your temple
and the payment.
Yes, or you just look at something or someone. And
right.
I hope just looking at you, I haven't actually transferred some of my wealth to you.
Right.
But yeah, so we know that more and more digitization, less reliant on physical things like cards, etc.
Cash.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then, do I think that we're going to eliminate cash completely? No, not really. Not in the near term, and certainly not globally. Because if you think about the realities of somewhere like on the continent, where we're still grappling with, you know, electricity issues, etc., etc. You know, you can't have people being stranded because they couldn't charge their mobile phones to make a payment.
So there's got to be some practicality there.
Yes.
Less than a minute to go, I want to quickly get your thoughts. Thinder, which is, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, a startup in Egypt, raised $20 million in a Series A funding. But the platform doesn't allow, and it's supposed to democratize investment, but it doesn't allow for investment in markets outside of Egypt. It's only just the Egyptian stock market and Egyptian mutual funds. What do you make of that? That investors would pour all that money for a platform that only focuses on Egypt?
Remember that they are trying to solve a local problem, certainly in the first instance, which is, as you said, making it easier for people to be able to invest in the Egyptian stock market. So in the near term, them not being allowing you to invest in the US, to be honest, I don't think it's such a big deal.
Yeah.
Because they have, you know, a fairly vibrant market. They could grow into that. And then you've also got to remember that there are probably some regulatory constraints. Yes, indeed, we have discussed this because we know what happened in Nigeria.
Exactly.
So, but I think it's solving problem A today, and then they can probably solve problem B, C, and D later.
I thought that was remarkable. $20 million raise just to that.
It tells you their market must be sufficiently large to be able to absorb that amount of capital just for a locally focused solution.
Amazing stuff. CEO, Alpha African Advisory, Sanyade Okoli, as always, thank you so much.